Clarita Valley, check us out on social media. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Or download the free app. Or just go to hometownstation.com.
You're listening to Starting Over with Patti Handy, Senior Mortgage Advisor with American Family Funding. Patti's show will focus on healing, inspiring, and empowering anyone going through a divorce or a loss of a spouse. They're talking about everything from money and managing finances, legal issues, emotional healing, physical well-being, and so much more.
I'll be the last one standing, two hands in the
Hello and welcome to Starting Over. I'm your host, Patti Handy. So happy you are here. Thank you for joining us today. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, AM 1220 and 98.1 FM. We're also on Facebook Live. So if you go to KHTS on Facebook, you can find us there. And you can listen in to us on an app, KHTS app, or hometownstation.com, and there's a little button at the top that says Listen Live, and you can join us there as well. You, on Facebook, can send in questions, so if you have a question for Sharon, my guest, or myself, you can make note in there, or you can call in at 661-298-5487. So again, thank you. If you've missed any episodes in the past and you want to go back and listen to some, you can go to startingoverwithpatti.com, and that's Patti with an I. Click on the media link and listen to past episodes. Also, there is a free download for you that I prepared. It's 6 Steps to Financial Healing After Divorce. Same website, startingoverwithpatti.com, and go ahead and download that for free. So what is the show about? My mission here is to help people transition from brokenness to brilliance after divorce. Having gone through a divorce myself, I know what I experienced. I don't know what you're experiencing necessarily, but I know what I experienced, and I know the dark time, the emotional roller coaster, the struggles, the fear, the sadness. I mean, there was probably every emotion in the book I felt, and it's been a journey, and I want to take that journey and hopefully be able to give back and help those that are going through a divorce or death of a spouse with navigating some of that. So I bring in guest speakers from financial individuals to physical well-being to emotional well-being, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So the gambit, I'm really trying to help you, and I'm really helping you move through the pain and overwhelm of divorce. I know how overwhelming I experienced, and I want you to become happy, empowered, and hopeful. So that is really my focus, and the tools I bring to the show will hopefully do that. So I'm very excited about my guest today. You might have just heard Sharon's show the hour prior to this because she was on an hour prior, but let me give you the proper introduction. Sharon Brubaker is an advanced certified grief recovery specialist and certified life coach, the owner of Premier Center for Grief and Loss in the Santa Clarita Valley. She's an author of the book, The Healing Place. She's also a host of the radio show, the radio program on KHTS, locally here, hometown station, on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock, entitled The Grief Recovery Hour. For the past 12 years, Sharon has facilitated an educational program known as the Grief Recovery Method. Sharon helps you move beyond the pain from one or more of losses that you may have experienced over your lifetime. And this program offers you the probability of a richer, more rewarding life, which we all know we want, right?
Yes. We definitely want that.
Yes. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're a trooper for going 2 hours here, back to back.
I'm so excited. You and I set this up over a month ago, and I've been waiting to be here on your show.
I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah. So
we know that death, divorce, among many other things that I know you talk about with grief, the process is unique to each individual.
Yes,
for sure.
Definitely.
But let's start at the beginning. Tell me about how you started teaching grief recovery.
So 12 years ago, my nephew Austin drowned with my family on vacation for Father's Day weekend.
Oh, dear.
And I had some other losses, but none of them affected me this way. And it was literally as if someone had stabbed a knife clear through my heart. And I just didn't know what to do with it. The second part of that is that I thought I should lead the process for my family. I'm the oldest girl of 5, and I thought that I should lead the process. Austin, my nephew, who was 10, that died, his mom was 10 years younger than I, and she and I sort of have a mother-daughter relationship, and so I was really looking to help her and guide her through the process. And I found the Grief Recovery Method. The Grief Recovery Method is the Grief Recovery Program, and the Grief Recovery Institute has been around for about 40 years. They're well-renowned. And they used to be right here in Sherman Oaks.
No.
And they have since moved. They're now in Bend, Oregon. And I found the program, and I signed up myself and my sister, and we took the program. And after we finished our program, Patti, the very next day I was talking to her, and I said, I have to help people.
Wow.
It just came to me. I didn't want anyone to experience not knowing what to do like I had. And I just knew my life was changed forever. And I went back to the Grief Recovery Institute, and I was trained.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Taking a painful, tragic experience and turning it around to help others is a very beautiful thing. So good for you.
And it was like I sort of found my calling.
Yeah.
Recently I was talking with another life coach, and he said, you remember when you were a little kid and you knew what you wanted to be? And I just looked at him and I was like, no. No, because prior to this, I was a professionally trained florist, and I was a director of catering right here at the Odyssey. Yay. And so in one of my past lives, and I was a realtor. So I didn't know. But this is forever
that's wonderful.
My reason why.
Yeah, that's great. And you can bring that experience to others. And like you say, you don't understand what they're going through, or you don't understand what they're feeling.
Yes.
But you understand loss and the broken heart and feeling just shattered.
Exactly. And you remember that the initial shock of the feeling of your loss, right?
Yes.
And you're just trying to figure out, okay, where do I go next? What do I do?
Yeah.
And that's where I come in. And I say, okay, here's what's going on. Yes, they're like, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That's normal. No, this is not. Here, you can do this. And sometimes I'm not even involved in the process, but I can answer some questions for them right away.
Yeah.
Like I wish somebody had been there for me at the beginning. So,
I can say from my experience going through my divorce, there were times, especially very early on in the process, where I felt like somebody was holding my head underwater and I couldn't breathe. And I was just, my arms and my hands were flaring, just trying to get up. And I would get up and I would breathe, and I would just like, that big gasp. And then I'd breathe for a little while, and then I'd go back down. And it was that roller coaster. So you're the buoy.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, yes, get up, breathe.
You're the life vest. Yeah.
You can do it. Exactly. I just sort of described the same thing. I absolutely felt like I couldn't breathe because I felt like there was no oxygen in the room. Yeah. I felt like someone had sucked out all the oxygen, and I literally couldn't breathe.
Yep. I had a similar feeling.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what grief is. I mean, we all kind of probably have a sense of what grief is, but give us the formal definition.
Absolutely. Grief is a normal and natural reaction to a significant emotional loss of any kind. Any significant emotional loss, grief takes place in our heart. It does not take place in our head. And that's where I think we get a little messed up here. It is our broken heart. It is the pain of our heart. That it absolutely happens here. We feel it here in our heart, but we go to our head intellectually to try to fix it. We go to our head to be strong. Got to move past this. I can get this figured out. But the head is the wrong tool for the job. And that's why a lot of times we end up suffering for long periods of time, because we can't quite figure out, how do I get this pain to stop?
And I would imagine, because I didn't know that it's, I mean, I could say I went to my head to try to, like you said, fix it. I had a young baby at home, and I'm like, I've got to just move. I got to make things happen. I got to keep moving forward, and that's in my head. And so the fact that you've got to stay in your heart to move through that.
And you attach emotion words to that. I'm feeling really sad today. I'm really lonely. This really hurts. And grievers need to talk, and they need to be listened to with respect. And they need to be heard. You can just be talking and talking and talking, and if no one's really hearing you, it's just going to fall on deaf ears, or it's not going to be there at all. And quite often I see this a lot on social media. When people just can't figure out the way, you'll see them, they're posting a lot. They're posting a lot about the pain or their memories or things, and they're just stuck. They're just kind of stuck there. And, I want to scream, I have the answer, come and I'll help you.
Yeah.
But we never come until we're ready. right? We never come to grief recovery until we're ready to.
There's a call. So talk to us about the stages of grief, what they are, what they look like.
Okay. So in 1969, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book called On Death and Dying. And that book is what she put together, and it was over a 2-year period of her absolutely interviewing people that had been given a life terminal illness. And they were her patients, and she was a psychiatrist, and she worked in a hospice program. And the book was absolutely written for people who had been diagnosed with terminal illness. And from that, she wrote that there were 5 stages that the dying person would absolutely go through. So anger, denial, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. Somewhere along the way, in the early 70s, some schools started teaching this program in their psychology schools, psychiatry schools, and those students became doctors, took this on into their practices, and they attached the word grief to it, the stages of grief. So, Patti, I'm here to tell you that there are absolutely no stages to grief. I absolutely know from my own personal experience, I never could get them to fit. And the question was something like this. What are the stages? How do you get there? Which one do you enter first? How long are you in that stage? They're not linear. They just never made sense. Denial. I absolutely was not in denial. I absolutely knew Austin had died. I absolutely went to a funeral. There was no denial for me. But was my heart absolutely broken? And could I have been depressed? Absolutely, 100%. Could I have been less than happy? And sometimes people come to me and they want to know what stage they're in.
They want to put a label on it.
They want to put a label on it, and they want to know what stage am I in and how long am I going to be here. And I say, you tell me. Let's talk about this. And it was one of the most refreshing things that I learned when I first studied the grief recovery, is that there were no stages. And it was like it freed me to know that it was absolutely okay. Where I'm at today was okay for today.
And that's where you were supposed to be at that
And that's
moment
where
in
you were
time.
supposed to be. And it's not a process in that you go A, B, C, and D. And that's what I
Right.
think is confusing also. And it will take as long as you need it to take, or as long as you're going to work the program, or as long as you're going to avoid working it. If you decide to push it down and not deal with it, then it's going to take that much longer.
Take longer. You said something interesting, which I completely resonated with in terms of it not being a linear thing. I remember days where I felt really good, and I was like 2 steps forward, and then the next day 3 steps backwards.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, I thought I was doing really well. I thought I was, moving forward, and then I'm just back on my backside again.
Right.
So that, I'm sure, is a very
roller coaster of emotion.
It's definitely, yeah.
We would be laughing about what was going on, laughing about Austin, sharing about Austin, and then 2 seconds later we'd be crying. Or 3 or 4 days we wouldn't talk at all. We would just be quiet, and then there would be a breakdown, So, yeah, it's absolutely different every single day, every minute.
Every minute for sure.
Yeah.
So what's something that you should not say to a griever? Because, there's...
I would not say, get over this.
Oh, yeah.
Are you still dealing with this? Oh, my gosh, you're still talking about this? I would not say, just give it time. You'll feel better in time. I would not tell them to keep busy, because there's no amount of busy that you can keep that's going to keep you from the pain in your heart, because wherever you go, there you are. I would not tell them not to feel bad. Don't feel bad. Grandma's in a better place. I would not say that. I would not tell them, let's say for a pet loss or a stolen item, well, don't worry, honey. Saturday we're going to get you a new puppy. Replace the loss. They're just things that are trying to fix them. We're trying to fix them and make them feel better. Don't cry. Don't cry. And those are things that people say that absolutely are intellectual. They go completely to the head, and they're not in the heart. And we learn those things. As a society, we have learned them. And they start really early. We learn them really early. And it's something like this. You stop that crying right now, or I'm going to give you something to cry for.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Do you need a timeout? Grieve alone. You grieve alone. I was at a friend's house, and her husband had just passed away, and her boss came in, and he literally walked up to her and he was like, the most important thing you can do is be strong for your children right now.
Oh, dear.
And you need to keep busy and come back to work right away. This will help you. And don't worry. In time, you'll feel better. It was as if I was holding up the book and he was reading from the book.
Everything not to say.
Not to say.
He was rattling off.
And I find that sometimes the older we are, the more we buy into those things, for sure.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of seniors absolutely buy into time heals because that's what they were always taught.
Right.
That you just give it some time and this pain will eventually go away.
Yeah.
But one of the questions we often ask is how much time?
We want the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years, 20 years. When am I going to feel better? I've met people that are grieving from a loss from 20 years ago. That's
Wow.
still, their heart is still broken over something.
Still haven't taken that healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that those folks, like this gal's boss, they mean well.
Yes.
They want to help. They want
Yes.
to fix. They want to
Yes.
make it better, and it's not coming from a place of come on, let's go get back to work. It's just they don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
So let's turn that around. What are some of the right things
Absolutely.
to say?
So sometimes absolutely saying nothing. What if I just came and I sat with you? What if I was your girlfriend and you just experienced a loss and I just came and I was there and I just held your space for you and I just allowed you to talk? Or I just said, what do you need? Because it is not uncommon for a griever to experience a loss and really just be staring off into space, like literally have nothing in their head. It's just the numbness takes over. What if I was just there for you so that I'm answering the door and I'm taking the phone calls or I'm making sure the kids are getting fed? I'm just there. What if I said to you, man, Patti, I have no idea what this must be like for you. My heart is breaking with yours. What if I said, I'm here for you? I am here with you. What if I said, let's just sit here and let's just talk about it? And I literally was a big giant heart with ears and I just listened to everything that you said. Or I said nothing. Nothing at all. So a lot of times grievers tell me they get sick and tired of hearing, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss. Because they feel like it's just the rote sentence that society will throw out, and it's not really coming from the heart.
Yeah.
So if you can make the person feel like you're really listening and hearing them, and a lot of times you'll see me, I'll just grab my heart and I'll just say, ouch. Or if you're over the phone and you're talking to someone and you say, honey, if I was there, I'd give you a hug. Or just give the hug if you're there. So there are so many things that we can say without fixing it for them. It's our common response to want to say, have you tried this? Did you do this? What about this? What about that?
Yeah. So all of what you're doing and saying is absolutely from the heart. And I would imagine that would help them go to their heart.
It's helping them to go to their heart.
And
I'm holding their space and giving them a safe place.
A safe place to
talk,
just
share,
break down whatever it is that's they're gonna do. Okay, this first little segment went by very fast. We've got a lot to cover. You're listening to Sharon Brubaker on the Starting Over show with Patti Handy. I'm a little tongue-tied here because it's such a great show. You're listening to Hometown Station, KHTS. We will be right back.
Come join me, Arif Halby, for Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Every Tuesday at noon, we uncover ways to help you manage your money, get out of debt, and prepare for your retirement. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Are you not sure if you can retire yet? Listen to us and learn about tips for savings, retirement strategies, and so much more. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour on your hometown station, KHTS.
My favorite restaurant in Santa Clarita? Salt Creek Grill, of course. Great food, neat atmosphere.
For a business lunch or romantic dinner, I'll always go to Salt Creek.
Hi, I'm Greg Amsler, owner of Salt Creek Grill. We have created Salt Creek to provide you with the most comfortable and inviting restaurant in Santa Clarita. Enjoy fresh mesquite grilled fish, aged steaks, and the best chops imaginable. There's entertainment every Friday and Saturday night, and we have the best Sunday brunch in town. Salt Creek is on Town Center Drive in Valencia.
Patti Handy, host of Starting Over with Patti Handy, has written several books that speak to her audience. Money Rules 101, Master Your Money Before It Masters You, is designed for anyone seeking financial peace of mind, for themselves as a parent or their young adult children. In an entertaining and highly readable approach, Patti covers many topics, including the money mindset, debit and credit cards, understanding credit scores, entrepreneurship, spending wisely, secrets of savings, investing, buying a home, and most importantly, giving back. A must-read for anyone.
Hi, this is Dr. Palucki. If you want to get better results with less supplements, then listen to this. For convenient on-the-go nutrition, an excellent workout recovery, and an absolute must for any diet, you can't beat Dr. Palucki's Cleanse Support. And of course, we made it gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, with no artificial sweeteners, colors, or flavors. At only 70 calories per serving and packed with over 50 superfoods, this delicious shake will be the best thing you eat all day. Now available at drpalucki.com.
There's only one Santa Clarita florist that mixes in classic designs with a touch of the wild. Wild at Heart Florist. Each arrangement is a piece of art, individually designed for you. They focus on your taste, providing the freshest flowers, custom selected from local vendors. Wild at Heart Florist. Weddings, special events, or just an I love you. See the difference at wildatheartflorist.com. Classic designs with a touch of the wild. wildatheartflorist.com.
You're listening to Starting Over with Patti Handy, Senior Mortgage Advisor with American Family Funding. Patti's show will focus on healing, inspiring, and empowering anyone going through a divorce or a loss of a spouse. They're talking about everything from money and managing finances, legal issues, emotional healing, physical well-being, and so much more.
I'll be the last one standing, 2 hands in the air, I'm a champion. You'll be looking up at me when it's over. I live for the battle, I'm a soldier. Yeah, I'm a fighter like Rocky.
Welcome back to Starting Over with Patti Handy. I am your host, Patti Handy. We have Sharon Brubaker in today, who is a certified grief recovery specialist, and we're talking about healing grief, what to do, what to say, what not to say, dealing with loss from whether it's death or divorce is what we talked about so far.
Yeah.
A little bit. So let's talk about, jump right back in, what are the different types of grief? Let's start there.
So as grief recovery specialists, we know there are 43 known losses that a person can experience over a lifetime. And those losses can cause a grieving experience in their heart. Death and divorce are the most popular, Patti, because that's what everybody talks about, and that's what they attach grief to. And then just under that, I would think breakup of a romantic relationship. But pet loss, moving, financial change. So it can also be underlined through a divorce, right? They can have a financial change, increase in a financial change, bankruptcy, moving, multiple moves, right? Now, that's just a tip of the iceberg, but there are some that a teen or a child can experience. A death of a family member, death of a grandparent for sure, multiple moves. I was sharing earlier that not just moving, but absolutely moving schools. So a lot of times people will move in their neighborhood or they'll stay in their same town, but moving the child from school to school and they're not having to, losing friendships every time. Moving can cause that. Death of a pet, being bullied at school, having problems in school, not being able to get through their homework, or struggling in school. So there are many, many losses that a person can encounter. But then those are tangible. Then there's these intangible losses, and those are loss of trust, loss of safety, loss of security, which quite often come from a major loss.
Yes.
So think about, in the case of a divorce, a loss of trust is something we can absolutely experience, and that's something that we also deal with in the grief recovery program.
That's huge. So how long does grief normally last? I'm going to imagine it's going to depend on what type of grief. Is that a fair?
It depends on what type of grief, and it depends on the person. And I think we touched on this a little bit earlier. Time is not going to heal that grief. It's action within time. So it's the action steps that we take to absolutely go after the pain in our heart that will help us to heal. So the answer to how much time will grief take is a question that I get most often. People ask me, how long is this going to take? When will I start to feel better? And it really depends on the person. It really depends on them doing the work. Part of doing that work is doing the inventory of their heart, really looking at and examining all of the losses that have taken place over their lifetime, not just that initial loss or not just that most painful loss. And it seems like a weird thing for us to do, like, let's look at all the losses. But I need to show how they correlate and connect. And when they see that, they can sometimes see other losses that have attached to this. Like, I may not just be grieving a divorce, but I could be grieving financial change and loss of trust. So,
and I'll speak for myself. I may be struggling with a loss I don't even know about.
Yes.
I mean, it could have happened in childhood that I'm not necessarily labeling or recognizing that I feel, but there's something off, perhaps.
Yes.
So identifying it.
Absolutely. So sometimes it's a feeling that my life is just not as happy or fulfilling as I want it to be. Sometimes it can be something is just not right. What is going on here? I'm not really sure.
I'm off. I don't know
I'm
what's
off.
yeah.
Something's going on. I'm in my dream job. I'm driving my dream car, but I am so unhappy. And a lot of times it can just be junk that we've carried on. I worked with a young person recently who just graduated college, and as the graduation started to approach, she started to realize, one, she was going on to her dream job. She'd gotten this amazing job at a marketing firm, but yet there was all this stuff from her childhood, and it all just started to rise to the surface, and she literally had to deal with that, and really before she took it on with her. So it wasn't a death or a loss. It was just this feeling of being unhappy and a lot of junk, multiple moves in her childhood and things she had to deal with.
So change.
Change, absolutely.
Sounds like a lot of the pivot point is change.
Yes. Ending a school program, graduating college can definitely cause a grieving experience in our heart, for sure. Ending an addiction can go on and on.
Yeah, I bet. 43, you mentioned, huh?
Yes.
That's quite a bit. So in divorce, and I don't personally know what it's like to have a spouse pass away, but in my divorce, there was various emotions. I mean, I could sit here for a while, but forgiveness, feeling of abandonment, loneliness, those are some of the things that I would imagine that somebody who lost a spouse to death or a loved one is going to feel if death of a parent. Maybe there's a sense of abandonment. I don't have my parents anymore. What tools and tips, what do you do to help people through some of that, letting go of the forgiveness, if that's even a fair statement, to let go?
Sure, absolutely. So it's the feeling of reaching out for that person one more time, only to discover when I need them, they're no longer here. Some of the things that may absolutely happen, let's say in a divorce situation, you may come to realize that he's been gone or she's been gone a long time before I even got to the divorce part, right? So I'm reaching out for them. So it's conflicting feelings. Sometimes those conflicting feelings can be, she asked me for a divorce, but I still love her. And even though I did everything I could to make this work, it is not uncommon for the griever to realize I still love this person, even though they've done this thing to me that's so wrong that they may feel. So what are some of the steps that we take to help them? One of the things that we do, and I've been talking about this, is we have to come to an awareness that our life is just not as happy or fulfilling as we want it to be. We come to an awareness that we are grieving in our heart. Then we take that awareness and we're willing to accept the part that we are responsible for, because no one is all good or all bad. No one has done it 100%. I'm speaking specifically of divorce, right? So we do an inventory of that relationship. What were all the things that happened in that relationship? And then I looked for anything, the griever will look for any areas that they still need to apologize now or forgive. When I say that, I want to preface it with this. Recovery is an inside job. Recovery from grief and loss is something that happens in our heart. It is for us to mend our own broken heart. And when I say accept us and forgive, I do not mean that you're going to call up Susie and say, you can, but I mean, this is not the program that I don't teach that in this program. I'm going into your heart to look for what areas are incomplete. And typically what areas are incomplete is any area that you may need to apologize or that you may need to give a forgive for. I forgive you for the night that you stayed out drinking with your friends and you didn't come home and I waited up for you. I forgive you for taking all the money out of the checking account, right? I apologize that I had a private checking account where I kept all this extra money here and you didn't know anything about it. So whatever those things are, and the griever really figures those out for themselves, and I walk them through the steps and the process of where they really need to complete, what areas they need to complete. And that's a major part of what the recovery process is. Sometimes I get grievers that just cannot forgive. They're so mad. They're like, I'm not giving that, because they believe that forgiveness equals condoning. If I forgive him for taking all of the money, that means I condoned it. And that's absolutely not true. Yeah. Forgiveness and recovery are an inside job. I forgive so that I can be free. You and I were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I forgive so that my heart can be free. I forgive so that I can let go of this pain.
Yeah.
And so we go into our heart, we examine that, and then we forgive so that we can be free. And we allow that process to take place and let go. And you, like I said, you never, ever, ever, unless you want to, share that with someone else. When I have a client that is really having a problem with forgive, they can acknowledge. I acknowledge that you left me. I acknowledge that you left me here with the children. I acknowledge that you took all of the money in the account, but I'm not going to allow that to hurt me. So if I'm really having a problem with forgive, at least acknowledging it and being aware of and accepting that portion through our own process will be helpful as well.
I think that mindfulness of those steps and taking those steps would bring a sense of empowerment back to that person.
Yeah.
And not from a place of I'm powerful and stronger than you, just a place of my life is so wonderful and precious that I'm not going to waste any more time of my time here giving you my energy, giving you my anger, giving you whatever. Just I'm going to let this go for my sake, not your sake.
Yeah. You've taken everything that I'm going to allow you to take, and I need to do this for me. It really is about yourself. It is really about getting healthy for yourself, being strong for yourself. And you can see them, Patti, when the clients come in, they're like broken. They're just like hunched over and sad. And literally about week 3 or 4, I start seeing the empowerment come, or even just being able to talk about it and having someone who's willing to listen. It gives him a new sense of purpose and energy.
The healing has begun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So what about somebody who loses a parent?
Yes.
And they have a wonderful, beautiful relationship, and they love their parents dearly, and there was nothing to forgive or there's no guilt, there's no nothing. It's just, I miss them.
Yes.
I want them back in my life.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
So not every experience is a grieving experience. I absolutely share that. But it's very rare that I have had a 50-year relationship with someone and there's not some junk left in there. It's very rare because, like I said, no one is absolutely perfect. And my father passed away 5 years ago, and he was my very good friend. He was my very good friend. And there was still some junk in there that I needed to deal with. Like the one time he punished me when my brother lit the matches, Keith, and started the fire in the backyard, and we all got punished. You know, so there's always something that I can find that we at least do at least 2 apologies, at least 2 forgives. Like we really look, because we have to tell the truth about ourselves. And I had to tell the truth about my father. And I had to look at my relationship with him and be honest about it. And if I'm really telling the truth, he wasn't absolutely perfect. There were things that were still left to be said. And it was those areas that I completed. And then I did my significant emotional statement. And my significant emotional statement to him was that I am so honored that you and I got picked to be on this journey together. I am so honored that we picked each other to do this together with. Thank you so much for providing for me. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for teaching me all the things. And I shared, and what a great grandfather he was, and all of these amazing things. And so I was able to do the significant emotional statements after I had done that, the work which really set me free.
The releasing part?
The releasing part. Because if you hold on to that, a lot of times that's the emotional incompleteness. It's typically something in our heart that is emotionally incomplete that causes the pain.
Yeah, if you can't release it, acknowledge it, might be mindful of it, identify it, release it, you can't get to that.
You can't get to the next
place of peace.
The next place.
And that. Wow, that's really very cool. So tell us a little bit about your program. How long does it last? You mentioned that in week 3, just a minute ago, week 3 you tend to see people see a shift. Give us some more detail about your particular program.
Sure.
And how
absolutely,
long it lasts.
I'd be honored to do that. So I teach an 8-week educational program on grief and loss, and I teach that in a class setting. And it's really kind of cool that we're all together sharing that program together. I'm laughing because these poor guys just had to hear this an hour ago. They're like, let me tell you what it is. Cody. So I teach that quite often in a class setting. It can be that someone's there grieving a divorce. Someone could be grieving the loss of a child. Someone could be grieving a feeling that their life is just not as happy or fulfilling. But we're all there holding the space for one another and listening to the griever talk and share their story. And the fact that we're holding their space and the energy that happens in a group program is amazing. And that program is an 8-week educational program. It is a book. You will absolutely have homework. You have about 45 minutes of homework a week. And I am literally guiding you through the grieving process. You're doing all the work. You're coming to all of the realizations that you have to do for yourself. So it's really kind of cool to go through that. I also teach a program, a 6-week program, called When Children Grieve. And that program is taught to adults, and it's for when children are grieving, and is to help your children through the grieving process. Really helping you to guide them through the grief recovery program, but you being the parent that's leading the way. I love this program because it's so simple. Like you could literally come to grief recovery, to When Children Grieve, without having gone to grief recovery, and you will be doing grief recovery just by being in the program. So I love that.
Wow, powerful.
I teach another 6-week program called Pet Loss, and it's specifically for people that have lost a pet. A bird, even a dog, a cat. Quite often I get people that are suffering, their hearts are absolutely broken from the loss of their pet. And then the new program that we have coming out is called Moving On. And it is for people that have suffered the loss of a divorce or breakup of a romantic relationship. And we gear the program specifically for that. And then there are about 60 grief recovery specialists that are advanced grief recovery specialists, and I'm one of them, that are able to absolutely do grief recovery online. And so I do grief recovery online on a one-on-one program, and that takes about 7 weeks. And it's really kind of funny because sometimes I'm just dealing with people right here in California that just can't make it up to Santa Clarita. You know, I've dealt with people in Riverside, Los Angeles. I actually dealt with a gentleman right here in Santa Clarita, but he was busy traveling, and so we did the online program, and it's an amazing program, and we are looking at each other face to face and talking and walking through the program and screen sharing, and it's really, really a great program.
That's the beauty of technology. You can reach out and touch someone, like they say, and be able to that's wonderful to be able to reach people, whether it's face to face or digitally. That's wonderful. So talk to us about dealing. I asked earlier about like feelings of abandonment and loneliness. How does somebody get past? And is it the same stage that you spoke of, dealing with that same thing?
Yes. So it's acknowledging. So one of the things we do is we look at acknowledging. It's the inventory. So when we go through the inventory, then we go back through the inventory and we attach the emotional feelings that are going on in their heart. So if abandonment is one of those things that they're feeling, or they're absolutely feeling lonely. And a lot of times, that I'm feeling lonely, but it hasn't come to the forefront of our mind. You know what I mean? But by being able to talk about it is when that comes out, and they're like, I'm really feeling lonely here. I'm really alone here. So when we see it all written out on a piece of paper, now also we're using all of our five senses to get it down. We're absolutely writing it out onto a piece of paper. Then they can also see patterns for themselves. Here's the moments where I was left alone and nobody was really there. Here are the moments where for the last 10 years, my parents moved, and I had to I wasn't able to make any friends because every year I was starting a new school. They can absolutely see the patterns of that loneliness, the isolation, and the brokenness that was absolutely going on in their life when it's absolutely written down on a piece of paper. So that's kind of how we go about that and find it there.
I love the fact that there's so much reflection, because oftentimes we get so caught up in life and work and just day-to-day everything that we don't take a step back and reflect and feed our soul with that information.
Right.
So that's so important. We're going to go to break in a minute. When we come back, I want to talk about your book.
Yes.
And I want to talk about more about letting go and some of that process. So we'll talk about that. You're listening to Starting Over with Patti Handy. Sharon Brubaker's in studio with us today on your hometown station, KHTS 98.1 FM. We'll be right back.
Lots of people can build websites, but there's one Santa Clarita company that specializes in designing websites for your business. Small Dog Creative. The Small Dog Creative team is made up of local designers who are hands-on. Their talented team of experts build premium websites and redefine branding. Small Dog Creative doesn't just build websites. They'll upgrade your business's online presence and turn your business into a powerful online brand. Small Dog Creative. Santa Clarita's most innovative web and design company. SmallDogCreative.com.
Brianna was diagnosed with visual and auditory processing disorder and dyslexia. When she wouldn't have the success she was looking for, you could just see her kind of going into her shell, trying to take what was in her mind and get it to paper. Just that connection just wasn't there. The assessment showed me that there was actually more of a struggle there than even we were aware of. Brain Balance gave Brianna the tools to succeed. She's in class, she's actually raising her hand and she's interacting and not afraid to, okay, if I make a mistake, that's okay, but I'm going to keep trying. She's like, I know I struggled, but they were right there to tell me, keep going, keep trying. Her academics have increased beyond any of our expectations. Her teachers are amazed. They're just amazed. This is a great program. It's helped my child beyond measure.
Help your child achieve success all summer long. Call Brain Balance today and get a jump start on your child's next school year. Make a real difference in the life of your child and your family. Call today.
Your building sign is essential in getting customers to your location. Feathers can help get your business noticed. They walk you through each phase of your building sign project, providing special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will give you a sign you can be proud of. Your building sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Feathers on Soledad in Canyon Country, across from the Edwards Theater. Or go to feathersphoto.com. That's feathersphoto.com.
Patti Handy, host of Starting Over with Patti Handy, has written several books that speak to our audience. 50 Ways to Flourish After Divorce. Divorce can be one of the most painful experiences in life. Having someone who understands the pain and loss can help in the healing process. This book shares powerful tips to help you not only survive divorce, but thrive. Getting through the day can take every bit of energy. This book was purposely written in short, easy-to-read segments. Start the healing process and move toward a life of happiness and joy once again.
Hi, it's Ashley with Waste Management. Have you ever heard the phrase, one bad apple spoils the bunch? The same is true for recycling. One non-recyclable item can spoil an entire load of otherwise good material. This may seem like a small issue, but it represents a huge problem that's preventing tons of recyclables from ever seeing a second life. Working together, we can do better by following 3 simple rules. Recycle all bottles, cans, cardboard, glass, and paper. Keep items clean and dry, and no plastic bags in the recycling. For more recycling tips, follow us on Twitter at WM_SoCal.
You're listening to Starting Over with Patti Handy, Senior Mortgage Advisor with American Family Funding. Patti's show will focus on healing, inspiring, and empowering anyone going through a divorce or a loss of a spouse. They're talking about everything from money and managing finances, legal issues, emotional healing, physical well-being, and so much more.
I'll be the last one standing.
Hello, welcome back to Starting Over. I'm your host, Patti Handy. I was going to say I'm your guest. I'm your host, Patti Handy, with my guest, Sharon Brubaker. I get so excited. I get all...
I know. It's a great show.
It's, you know what? I love the fact that we're covering so many different areas, and everybody in this world has experienced some type of grief.
Yes.
I mean, it could be, like you said, loss of a pet, a move, moving schools as a child, death, divorce. I mean, there's, like you said, 43.
And just interject here. If you haven't experienced a loss, a grieving experience, you will. we're not going to get out of here without it.
I can't imagine being an adult and not having something happen in
and
your
not
life.
having something happen, or acknowledging. That's where acknowledging comes. We have to acknowledge that was a grieving experience, and that stuff is still there. And I was saying to my husband the other day, they have that saying, you have to pay taxes. 2 things are for sure: you're going to die and pay taxes. Yes, but I think the third is that we're going to grieve. We're going to grieve losses that will happen in our life. It's just a given. It's just that's life. So we only got about 6 minutes in this last segment, so I want to address something that we talked about off air. After you've gone through all the work, you've gone through the release, you've gone through the acknowledgement, you've gone through the healing, you've gone through the forgiveness, whatever the process is, you're completed with your program, and you're feeling pretty good, but you still just miss that person. Yeah. Maybe again it's a parent, God forbid a child, I mean God forbid everybody, but I'm just saying, you just miss that person. Yeah. All the gunk is gone, all the cleanup has been gone, but how do you just deal with wanting that person back? Yeah. What do you do? Yeah. So what happened to me when I experienced is that after the loss of Austin and I did all of my work, like I said to you, I felt as if a knife was stabbed clear through my heart. Through doing my grief recovery process, doing my grief work, I'm saying process, through doing my grief work, I felt as if the knife was removed from my heart. That's where the pain is, Patti. The pain is in all of the things that are incomplete in our life. And it was as if the knife was removed. The hole that the knife caused was still there. Missing him or missing her is something that, unfortunately, we will still experience from time to time. But the pain is not there. So sometimes when I'm doing work with a griever, they'll come to me and they'll say, it didn't work. I'm still missing them. And I'll get them to quiet down. And I'll say, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to think about your loved one. And I want you to lean in a little bit. And it is honestly, Patti, it is a physical movement. You just lean in a little bit and concentrate on your heart. And tell me if the pain is there or is it that you're just missing them? And they can lean forward and they can say, I really just miss them. And how we can deal with the missing is we can do an additional grief work on that. We can acknowledge that we absolutely are missing them. But unfortunately, sometimes the missing part, it just never goes away. And from here until the day I leave this earth, I will miss Austin forever. I absolutely would love to see 22-year-old Austin right now. And I will forever miss him. And we think about him. We talk about him often. We share his birthday, everything. But but the pain is gone. And that's the biggest part. And that's what I think a lot. We attach the pain and think it's the missing, and it is not. Yeah. The pain is absolutely in the incompleteness. That's great. That's great advice. That's really great. I'm processing all that. Yeah. So let's shift a little bit here. We're down just a couple minutes. Those that are in our everyday life feeling lonely or just struggling, don't necessarily have anything identified as far as a grieving loss, but just not feeling right. Right. We talked a little bit earlier about we got to do this quickly. We got 2 minutes, but the release state. So if there's some gunk and we're feeling off, that there is something there. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. There's still gunk left, right? Yes, there's still gunk can be left. So it is not uncommon for a griever to come to me. I went to grief recovery for Austin, and when I did my inventory, I realized other losses that I had. I told you, I may have told you this. Maybe I said it earlier. My aunt passed away when I was 14. That was still incomplete in my heart. I had lost a dog that got hit by a car. That was still stuck in my heart. I had to grieve that. There were moving from my childhood friends. My parents moved after we had been there for many years. I lost all of those friends. I had to grieve that. So there were things that were still gunk, that was still stuck in there, technical term, and I went back and I dealt with all of that junk that was still left in there. And here's what I can tell you. I just started to feel lighter. I just started to feel like, wow, I really got that. That's fantastic. I hate to end the show. We have to. Oh my gosh. So much fun. So the last minute, tell us where people can reach you. SharonBrubaker.com, 661-212-0720. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sharon. It's been wonderful. You're listening to Starting Over with Patti Handy. Thank you for joining me. I truly appreciate it. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Yay. Yeah. Surpassed all right.